We are. Hi, Dr. Lori. How are you?
Hi, good, Dr. Rock. How are you?
I'm very good. It's good to see you here again. We're back for our weekly live stream. We are Mora Medical. Mora, you can find us at mora.com, and we're a relatively new medical group that's centered around health, that's centered around helping you live your healthiest life and using lifestyle habits like the food you eat and how you move your body and how you connect and love other people, using those things to treat, prevent, reverse disease, help you lose weight, help you live the life that you want to live. So we're really excited to work with so many folks now across the country. I lose count. We're getting into many states now, but predominantly Florida, Texas, California, New York. We can see patients in Ohio, Colorado, Utah, Maine. Am I missing?
Yeah,
We
some of
can
them.
see
So the
patients
one,
anywhere, Dr. Lord. But yeah, for more, sorry. I,
yes.
let's not.
So there's states that we accept insurance. So those are Florida, Texas, California, Colorado, Ohio, New York, which is a third of the population of the United States, by the way, doing
Wow.
the numbers. And then the other states, depending on our patients, or excuse me, the physician's licensing, that will determine, but those will have to be cash unless they're Medicare, which we have to accept Medicare because we're enrolled in Medicare. So
That's
yeah, we're
right.
doing our best. And some people ask, why just so states only? Because it's very expensive and time consuming to get one physician license, and then you have to wait 3 months ish, and it's another 3 to 6 months to get them enrolled in insurance, and you have to pay for those applications
That's
because
right.
they're time consuming and exhausting.
Yeah. Now that I'm on that side with you, where, yeah, there's so much paperwork and each state has something slightly different or it's exactly the same, but they just have their own version of it. There's,
Exactly.
yeah,
And then even there's a licensing compact, and I'm renewing, like, for example, Wyoming, and then they require you to do something extra, and then Nevada makes you do this on a backwards way extra. Like, yeah.
all right.
Anyway,
Well, we're slow. We're ever expanding, and you can check
we
us
are.
out. Even if like Dr. Lori said, even if we're not accepting insurance in your state yet, there is a cash pay option if one of our doctors is licensed in your state. So, and then we are maintaining a wait list too. So you can certainly
Yes.
connect with us. And today we're going to talk a little bit about, well, first I'll say if you have questions, we're both, all of our clinicians are certified, board certified in lifestyle medicine. That's the therapeutic use of lifestyle change for disease reversal, prevention. And so if you have a question for either of us, please feel free to drop it in the chat. But today I thought we'd talk about, it's a sort of big topic in some ways, but how one prioritizes self-care in their life.
Mm,
And I guess I
mm.
would start with the why. Maybe I'll ask you, like, why even ask that question?
Well, I think it's a question that we don't think to ask ourselves. Yes, we'll project that to others. Like, let's say we see a loved one who's not caring for themselves, they're stressed out. You're like, you need to take some time for yourself, get better. And I think sometimes we think it's almost like being a hero to be the sacrifice and the
Hmm.
martyr, so to speak. So there's some benefit, maybe mentally, that someone thinks that that's healthy and a good thing to go, but it really isn't, especially as a mom and a mother and a career person, you know.
I was just coming to mind when you were describing that. I was thinking of my wife, who
Mm,
for years, I feel like, that's what she did. That's what she did, and it clearly became a point where, like, oh, this isn't sustainable, and things needs to change. But yeah, I think what you're saying is a lot of times people look at self-care as being kind of selfish. It's like, oh, I can't take time for myself because the family needs me, my work needs me. Like, how could I even do that?
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I definitely hear you on the point of people thinking that it's selfish, because I think it's that word self-care, and that it's a one person, we've been told you can't just focus on yourself. The world's not about you. It's about this. But it really is about making yourself the best version of yourself to interact in the world and to provide care for those you love. So I consider it care that I provide myself and time that I take time to educate myself, feed myself well, exercise, prioritize stress, prioritize sleep. It allows me to be a better version of myself when I'm interacting with others and provide more to them. So I consider it an interesting investment in others by allowing me to be the best version of that investment for them. So that's how I escape the feeling bad about self-care.
Well, I love that you said you called it an investment. Investment because you're doing something for yourself. You are spending time. Time is a limited resource, and it's so you can show up for everyone else in the best possible way. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you do for self-care?
What do I do for, well, I think that actually lends to the next kind of thing I wanted to talk about, which is, okay, if you have acknowledged that self-care is important, right? That self-care is not selfish. It's actually important for not just your well-being, but all the people in your life. You acknowledge that. Okay, then there is that sort of, okay, but I still have all those responsibilities. I still have the 3 kids. I still have, so then I thought we could talk about, and I can start with how I do this or some tips. Like, how do you prioritize it in the midst of so many people? I mean, everyone, I would say most people would call themselves busy these days. I don't know. When I was thinking about this, I was like, oh, maybe we could do like self-care tips for busy professionals. And I was like, what does that word professional even mean? Like, everyone's busy. Like, take that word professional out, because busy humans, like, and then you could take the word busy out. Self-care for humans, and it's applicable for everyone. So one of the things, I mean, we talk about this a lot, we talk about with our patients, is this idea of scheduling self-care. So, and it comes a lot for movement in particular, like sometimes we'll say, but I've taken that to the, I just thinking about like my morning, and it's like, okay, I put it on my calendar now, like the 15-20 minutes if I'm going to do meditation. Doesn't that necessarily mean I always do it that time, but it's just because I started scheduling like movement and exercise because somebody told me, and that's what I tell people. It's like, if you had any other appointment on your calendar, if I had like a doctor's appointment, or if I had a meeting with someone, I would put on my calendar and I would see it, and I would not schedule something else at that time unless it was like something very, very important, right? And so it's the same idea as you're scheduling this self-care, this period of time for yourself. And it doesn't have to be movement. It could be just stillness. It could be talking to a friend. It could be meeting up with a friend. Like, all these things are I like the word self-care, just because it means a lot of different things to different people. And so you can sort of craft it in that way. But yeah, scheduling it in is probably one of my biggest go-tos nowadays.
Scheduling is important. And I think the earlier you start your day with some form of self-care or investment of self, the better your day will be. So for me, it's, 7 days a week. It says, even if I don't even get up to exercise, at least I see that prompt and it's a reminder to myself, yes, I'm setting aside time to exercise. Like every morning it says 6 a.m. exercise. And I get to decide what that exercise is based on how did I sleep? What is it? What am I feeling like? I have goals, but it's, there are no hard set goals. But the other piece is, which we always go back to, and I feel like I don't know, man. Dr. Shad Helmstetter, I am like the biggest geek, I swear.
I'm in the
anyway.
Yeah.
I love that man. And I've been diving deeper into the positive life one. I think you were doing that one, or maybe not.
Yeah,
but, oh my goodness.
Control of your life. Oh, and I do the positive living.
Yeah, positive living. And I'm like, oh
yes.
My goodness gracious, that woman's voice. And she's just talking to me. I'm just like, yes.
Yes, I'm glad I found it, because as much as I love Shad too, like,
yeah,
it's nice to hear someone else's voice. I was
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised when I was like, okay.
It's a lady, right? I
Yeah.
know. I was like, and she's a lovely voice and how she speaks to you. And I find myself repeating. I don't know if it's because it's a female voice, but I find myself repeating more of what she's saying, or maybe it's because I need this in my life right now.
Yeah, that's right.
um,
That's right.
but man, I go through the day and I'm like, if I'm hit through a hard situation, I'm like, I am positive that I'm going to conquer this because you know what? Well, for whatever that self talk is, and I'm like, off we go, action initiated.
Love it. Okay, so for those who've never watched our live stream or what we're talking about positive self-talk. And Lori, you had Dr. Helmstetter on your podcast. I think it was just
Yes.
a few weeks ago. Yeah, so people can check out the Health and Mora podcast and
Yes.
listen to that interview, and also check out his book, his first book. He's written many books.
Yes.
And then he has an app, Self-Talk Plus, where, you know, it's sort of reprogramming you, right? It's reprogramming.
Yes. It's learning a new language. So he was a linguist during the Cuban Missile Crisis back in the 60s, which is fascinating. It was a really cool story. And it really made sense to him that the language that we hear ourselves speaking every day, those thoughts, it's just a matter of programming. These are programs that we learned when we were children. Because, you know, he goes back to the nursery and you're just hanging out in the nursery waiting for the world to interact with you. Whatever that world inputs is what you're learning. And so it makes sense when we see so many people have different outlooks on life and different mindsets. And it's never too late. You can change that kind of fixed mindset, you know, speaking of Carol Dweck's work, to a growth mindset. It's so powerful. And for me, I feel like this is the holy grail that I've been looking for as far as the very first starting point. Like I was finding habit loop, and then I was learning different things about behavior change. But I
Yeah.
really think it has to start here. And
Mm.
I am so convinced of this that it just, and I feel like I'm pretty well tuned and going, but I am learning and getting so much out of these simple statements that are on repeat for me. It's just, I don't know. Again, huge fan. Thank him for his work.
I tell you, I still do it every day.
Yes.
I have started, because the one I listen to, Taking Control of Your Life, is all about being organized in your thoughts, organized in your time. And if you end your space, and so if you start looking around my house, I've started organizing, like, and I'm not, you can talk to my mother, like, that is not who I am. Like, I was the messiest person in college, my dorm room, like, you couldn't even walk into it, right? Like, the fact that I'm like, just, I see things now and I'm like, oh, that needs to be put into play. Like, it's really crazy, right? And as I started to experience it, and like, yeah, I've definitely talked to patients about it. I mean, it's okay talking about fitting in and like self-care. I say this all the time now because I heard him say it in like some interview, which is so many things that when we talk about self-care, they require that. They require extra time. They require like scheduling it in. Self-talk does not. In fact, it works better if you play it in the background when you're doing something else. That's this is something that is helping you grow and improve, and it doesn't require an investment of time. So that's like, if you're saying to yourself, like, if you're watching this and you're like, I don't have any time, like, I really don't. I need 28 hours in the day for all the things I have to do. There is time for self-talk, because and just, you know, I love, he recommends actually that you start with a whole pack on self-esteem, and really like learning and appreciating yourself and loving yourself, and coming from that place. And so when we talk about self-care, it's really that. It's like acknowledging that I'm important. I'm as important as anyone else in my life. And so yeah, I knew we would talk about self-talk.
Yeah, and he has another book called Neuroplasticity, The Power of Neuroplasticity, and I think that's a really nice addition to, you know, what to say when you're talking to yourself. And it's just fascinating. It's utterly fascinating to me how even someone who's, I'll be 53 this year, and still learning to talk to myself in a better way. And yeah, so and that chatter that we all hear, that's the piece that I always thought, because when you start looking at mindfulness and meditation, they're like, just let it flow, which was great. That surrender aspect, I love that component. But I was like, there's got to be a way to make that tone down or change
that chatter.
It changes the chatter. Like the chatter is not the same. Like it is not the same. And if this old horse can learn it, anyone can.
So for someone, I'm someone who does fairly regular meditation, and that I've noticed that. I've noticed that when I get still now and I do have thoughts arise, like some of those thoughts are just what I've been hearing on it's really,
That's awesome.
it's pretty cool.
We are such little fan clubs.
Okay. So it's funny because like you hear about these, you were just so excited about it. I could tell like this is something I need to check out. I can't. And even
I still get excited
on it that first time, it was like the next time I saw you, the next meeting we had, the next year, like, okay, all right. If you
and I'm still excited about it. It's because it's so powerful. Like you could it's such a simple, like you said, simple, no time. I do it when I'm exercising, or I'll do it when I'm getting ready in the day. I'll even play it on high in the shower.
Oh my God, I've done that. Yeah. With my wireless headphones.
I just turn it up.
I've done it commuting. I drop my kids off in the morning when I'm driving back. I even do it sometimes when they're in the car. Because I'm like, they can hear these things. I want them to be more organized. And
exactly.
Anyway, what else do you have other like sort of ways in which I say prioritize self-care?
Yeah. I think it's a really important one is sleep, because I feel like that's one that we're really quick to sacrifice because we don't fully understand the value of sleep. And I think so many people walk around sleep deprived. Either they think they're getting a full night's sleep, but it's very disrupted, or they have undiagnosed sleep disorder, sleep apnea, or we just, we are on these things constantly right up until we go to sleep, we wake up, we're jumping on it. And trust me, I'm just as guilty as anyone. But sleep and focusing on, for example, I love tea, and stopping my tea, even though I don't drink coffee, but that caffeine does affect. If I stop by noon or 1, then I sleep better, right? And I put down the phone and just kind of wind down for the evening over 15 minutes. I am not going to invest an hour to go to bed because I can't. Like my brain will not allow that. I need to go like within 15 minutes, be in bed to sleep. I think sleep is a really big one. Making sure you have those dark curtains, the room is cooler. The dog knows that she can sleep on this part of the bed only, not up against one of us. And but yeah, so those are, for me, sleep is a huge one.
I totally agree. I mean, I never used to. I'll be honest, I didn't prioritize sleep for years. Like, and you probably didn't either. When we're in medical training, when we're almost like not allowed to. Like,
no, honestly, you can't function as a physician in training sleeping.
Yeah, right. It's a known quantity, and so then it's almost like an unlearning that I had to do. Especially, and then you have kids, and if you have kids, and then you're not sleeping, and that's even sometimes even more. And so then there's this your kids get up and they get old enough where they're sleeping through the night, and you realize you're not sleeping through the night, and you're sort of like, oh, and that's what happened to me. And because it affects everything. Like if you don't get a good night's rest, think about it. You in the morning wake up, you're groggy, you might be short with people, so then it affects like the energy in the home. You might leave late for work, and then your commute is work. Like it's this sort of cascade. And I've had to acknowledge that and then say, okay, where are my pressure points? And a lot of things that you said, like I had to move my phone away from my bed. And my phone I always say this now, I was like, your phone should go to bed ideally an hour before you do, and ideally in a different room, like not in your
right.
So I put an alarm on my phone that prompts me an hour. And then I had to even think like I need a bedtime. I see this so many times with patients, like that's just not, they're like, I just go to bed when I'm tired, and sometimes it's 11:30, sometimes it's 12:30, like, and so yeah, it's being like, because our body, we have these circadian clocks in all our cells, and if you throw it off every day, if you're like sleeping 1 hour later, 1 hour, even sleeping in on the weekend, I did that for years. I still do that a little bit, but if you start getting up and going to sleep at the same time, like you'll get up and go to sleep at the same time, even on the weekend. Like, you can stay up a little later, right? But your body just won't let you sleep, and that's a good thing. That means everything is sort of working on this circadian clock and operating in a. Then it gets into like, when do I eat? You start to realize all these things are connected. Like when you eat and when you do some movement, getting sunlight, all of these things affect your sleep. Okay, I love that one. Yeah. Other
Yeah.
tips?
Well, I think in conjunction with, there's two things, is getting sunlight early in your day, because that really, one, it wakes you up, you're moving, even if it's just 5 minutes, you go outside, walk around the block, whatever, the parking lot, that disruption. And then the actual intensity of the light, if it's earlier in the day, especially if it's, as the sunlight's first coming up, that starts helping with going back to the circadian rhythm. And so then when you are ready to go to sleep, that's going to help make that an even better time. And if you can get, evening sunlight, that's better too, because now the brain's like, yes, we're coming down things. So it's like sunrise, let's get things moving, increase your cortisol, let's get it going. And then time to settle down and go back to sleep. Because the cascade, we make melatonin. And so when that sunlight, it starts the actual marching band effect of melatonin, it'll start building. And then by the time you're ready to go to sleep, hopefully it's all in place.
Ready to go to bed. That's
Exactly.
right. One thing I think about is like, there's sort of like the ideal self-care plan I have for myself. And then you kind of mentioned this when you were talking about, like, you get up in the morning and you do an assessment and you're like, today is not the day for ideal. But I have ideal, and then I say to myself, now I have like a standard, right? So if ideal was like I was going to go on that trail run, but no, I'm definitely not. Standard is like, I'm going to go a walk around, around the head of the trail or something like that. Because, and I think gets to like, sometimes we don't, even though it's good for us, like sometimes we don't feel like doing the things that are good for us. And this is where I think your feelings can betray you.
No, I agree. I like that standard. I would say it's a minimum. So there's something that I would say is, I've been doing this thing. It's called GMB. If you check out gmb.io is their website, it stands for Gold Medal Body, but it's all about using your body and play and movement and
I get
strength.
targeted.
It's lovely. I've been doing it for years, off and on.
Okay.
And I've been engaging with it more recently. And one of them is called Integral Strength. And so it's talking about, we do like bear crawls and A-frames and all these different things, like a 3-point bend and, trying to, I used to be able to do back bends so easily, but now I'm like, well, that's a little harder these days, and so I'm just really learning and building on strength and flexibility. And, I just love it. Oh my goodness, it's fabulous. So in the mornings, there are some mornings I'm like, oh, I know it's good. But so what I do, the one thing I know I can do, my minimum, is my A-frame to squat, right? So I do my A-frame to squat. And what that does, there's something in my brain that goes, okay, now it's time to continue. Many times I'll just keep going. But if I stop, then I'm like, that was probably the test. And if I'm not feeling it so good, then I go do kettlebells or whatever else I think I can do, or walk, or like you said. So sometimes you just got to prime yourself. And I consider it the minimum movement that I know, regardless of how I'm feeling, I'm going to do it,
Okay. I think someone on Facebook is asking, what is it called? Where to find info on you and play?
GMB. So like a G for go, M is in metal. It's like GMB body. So Gold Medal Ball, GMB.io.
Okay.
It's great. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, one thing I just heard you say, which I think really resonates with me, is it's not that you're telling yourself you don't feel like it, but you're not telling yourself, okay, man, I just have to do the thing. You're telling yourself, I just have to get started. I have to do something
Mm,
small. Like you make that small thing you do like really easy so that there's very
mhm,
little friction to that. Because then you also said, like, once you get started, there, you can't count the times where you're like, I just want to keep going then.
mhm,
That
mhm,
it's that just starting. That's why I say your
mhm.
feelings betray you, because if you listen to your feelings all the time and you don't do even the small thing, then you won't experience all the benefits that you could be experiencing, right?
Exactly, exactly. I would I would try to respond here, but it won't let me. So I apologize. Or otherwise, I would. If you want
Oh,
to type it in,
oh yeah.
gmb.io.
This is coming from Facebook user. Yeah, is it gmb.io, right?
.io.
Okay, I just
And yeah, and, it's just it's kind of like the primer. It's a starter. It's it goes to looking at BJ Fogg's
tiny habit.
behavior. Yeah, his tiny habits, but that behavior model. There's three things that are required for any human behavior. It doesn't matter what that behavior is. I don't care if it's good, bad, or neutral behavior. You have to have motivation, the
Mm-hmm.
ability, and a prompt.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're lacking in motivation, which is many
That's
people, it'll wax and wane
right.
minute to minute in my life. But you have the ability, the physical ability to do something. All you need is the prompt. So for me, it's just like I know I wake up, I see my phone, it's saying exercise is scheduled right now. So I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
it's simple enough. I can do this in my pajamas, an A-frame to squat. And then it's like, okay, now that was the prompt for the behavior. Now I'm a little bit more motivated. I'm waking up. I know I feel good. And then I can go, get dressed real quickly and do my thing. And then afterwards, I feel awesome and I celebrate. And then that celebration piece reinforces the dopamine hit that comes with all of that. So, um, yeah, that's how it goes. It works great.
Yeah, BJ Fogg talks about, I think he calls it showing yourself shine for the
Mm,
self-celebration in his book.
yep.
And so do you have something you particularly do to celebrate yourself?
I like stickers. Okay, I think did I
Ah,
tell you about I have a sticker fetish.
no.
So when I was a little, I don't have my stickers down here; they're upstairs. But when I was a kid, back in the 70s and 80s, I used to have these sticker albums. Like I would go and save my money,
Sure, sure. I remember
scratch
those.
and sniff
I
stickers.
remember those.
Oh my goodness, the colorful unicorn stickers. Oh, and it still makes me happy. But you know what started that adventure was I used to get I would love to get praise from my teachers. So I would study hard and
Mm,
really made academics my thing. And they would give you those little aluminum stars. The blue
right,
was my favorite, the
right.
red, the
I remember
gold.
those.
Oh my goodness, sometimes you got two. Oh my gosh. So, I mean, for me, and so if you have a calendar, right, and you stick your favorite sticker, if it's a bird, a flower, I don't care. For me, it's aluminum stars. Stick the aluminum star, and then you see this lovely chain
Mm,
of, and that is my silver. It's a sticker.
mm.
It is a sticker. Yeah. The squishy
Oh,
ones are nice too. Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah. I when I read the book, I also said, what do I like to do? And
Yes.
so I give myself a fist
Oh,
bump. And it feels good. And sometimes
oh,
I do the exploding one and I make the noises
woo!
too.
I love
Exactly.
it.
Like I used to take the when I was reading the book, and I was a hospitalist at the time and I was working in the hospital, and there were days where I was coming in the morning, I was leaving at night, and I was like, I'm not going to exercise today. And so I would push myself to take the stairs. And every time I got up, like especially it
Mhm.
was like sixth floor or seventh floor, I'd come off and I'd go like that. And you get that little dopamine hit. And then
Yes.
eventually it becomes like the standard. Like, and I was like, and then I
Oh.
stopped taking, then the pandemic came and I was like, I don't want to take the elevator.
That's, I've been priming for those stairs. Who knew for the
Yeah.
pandemic,
I was
right?
preparing myself. Can you
Well,
give us the author and the book? Yeah.
mhm. Tiny habits.
Shad, Shad. How do you spell Helmstetter?
Oh, Helmstetter. So there's two books, right? It's the Power of Neuroplasticity, but Shad, Shad, Helmstetter, Helmstetter, and then BJ Fogg, Tiny Habits.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So this is what happens. As you're typing that in, I will find something, and I am so inspired by these people that I have to meet them. It's probably, and this is a great thing for the podcast because I'm like, listen, I got this podcast and I'm a doctor. Can I please interview you? Because I think you'll be so amazing. Plus, I just want to meet you. So BJ Fogg, I struggled to be able to like, get to the right people. So I found through digging through that he had this course for 4 weeks.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't care what it cost. I paid some money. And I could spend for 12 people 1 week.
Right. And then you were
4
like,
hours every Friday.
I love this course. And
oh my goodness, I got him on my podcast. It was lovely. It was so exciting. And I was just like, it's amazing. Anyway,
when was that? Yes. I have to go back and listen to that one. When was that?
It was a while back. Yeah. And I was one of the first people that interviewed James Clear that did Atomic Habits.
Wow, cool.
Yeah. He even asked me to do like on Amazon to like say I'm a doctor to help promote his book because that was so early on. But yeah, it was fun. Oh my goodness. Yeah, It's been such a fun life to meet. So amazing people. Man.
So
incredible.
It's been about a half hour. I know. That was a cool conversation. Thanks.
That was. Thank you.
I want to remind people who we are, where they can find us.
Yes. So we are Mora Medical. We offer individual and group medical visits now. We've listened to our consumers and patients, and they said, we really would like to spend more time one-on-one, and we're absolutely doing that. The groups are where we feel the most power is, as we continue to build that community and that interaction and seeing patients really help one another. So that's where we're at. We're at Mora.com. Check us out. We're plant-based doctors if that's your thing, but if you're not plant-based or plant curious or just want to get healthier, we're okay with that too. So we're, like we said, we're accepting insurance, including Medicare and Medicaid in Florida, Texas, California, Ohio, New York, and Colorado. Other states we might be able to help on a cash pay basis. And even if you have like a high deductible insurance, we can go around that as well. There's some things that we can do for you. So please check us out and these amazing physicians who work with us. Just an incredible team.
Thank you. Yeah, and share this if you're watching this recorded, if you're watching this live, please share this. We're a new medical group and really trying to change the healthcare system. Rather than focusing on illness, we focus on your health and focus on how to help you thrive and have the most well-being in your life. So super, super grateful to have this conversation with you, and super grateful for everyone who listened in today. And we'll see you back here next week.
And I would just say one other thing. If you know someone who starts a business or owns a business and you feel like we'd be a good fit and they're in those states, we work with corporations as well. And we're seeing some really cool things happen in that if you work for a hospital system or anything. So just some ideas, think outside the box, how we could maybe engage in your community. We're always open for any ideas. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. Take care, everyone.